Being seen. Yep. Screen sharing is.
We're good. I'm just trying to find where the screen's up to.
You can't find it. With all that time, with those very few.
You only have,
Classes.
you only have like two tabs open, right? I mean, there's like,
There.
We got it?
Start over.
All right.
I want to show it. Zoom share. Show me paused. Oh, this is a problem. I'm over at the bottom. I want to share that. Where is it?
So lower right corner,
Yeah,
fourth icon from the right.
up here.
No, up. Fourth eye, yep, one to the right, yep,
No.
no,
That's
Oh,
our
e-learning plan, okay.
plan. Yeah, I thought that too. Oh my goodness. Oh, maybe it's right there. No. That.
Is it in Google Docs or Microsoft Word?
The doc, so I'm in Zoom,
Yeah, but you're sharing just one window.
correct.
Yeah.
If I stop sharing,
You look great, friend.
stop sharing, and now I'm going to back to screen sharing. This is what I want to share. There it is.
All right. We got this. Happy New Year, everyone. Happy New Year. All right, let's call this meeting of the Milburn CC School District 24 to order at 7:03 PM. Madam Secretary, can we have a roll call?
John Lorenzen,
Here.
Brandon Murphy, Peter Pecherini,
Here.
Jillian Phelps. Here. John Ruggles,
Here.
Brad Sketchum,
Here.
and Lisa Wooster. Here.
All right, let's rise for the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Secretary, do we have any public comments?
We do not.
All right. Number 5, addition of information or discussion items. Does anyone have anything we need to add? No? All right. And let's talk about the items for discussion on the list.
Okay. The first item, Martin Luther King breakfast is next Monday here at the Milburn Elementary School. It's just information for the board. If you're wanting to attend, there's a sign up that I sent out today. If you could sign up just so we know how many donuts to buy. It's not going to be anything fancy breakfast, not a buffet or anything. It's just donuts, coffee, juice.
What time is it?
9 a.m.
9 a.m.
I think
Yep.
that's fancy.
That could be fancy. So it'll be a breakfast and a short program, and that'll be it. And some of our kids are putting on some of the program part. So great, looking forward to it. The next item is cash contribution agreement for Heritage Park. So Carly, you want?
Sure. It's actually in my business office report. We want to just share that for the words, but essentially, a developer, Lennar, reached out a couple of months ago. They are going to continue building the Heritage Park Townhome subdivision in Lindenhurst. Because they will be putting in new homes, we work with the developer to come up with what's called a cash contribution agreement. So essentially, they're going to pay Millburn School District $1,861 per unit. That goes into our capital projects fund to help offset any capital projects. So I worked with our attorney to create the contribution agreement. Lennar reviewed it, they're okay with it. In your board packet, that cash contribution agreement should have been included. We'll ask for approval at the next board meeting and a signature then, and then send it over to Lennar. They're scheduled, I believe, to start building in the fall of 2024.
When I first saw that, I was surprised because the park right outside the middle school is also called Heritage Park. I was like, where are they gonna put 100 townhomes in this little area? And so one of the gentlemen on the Lindenhurst zoning board, I can't remember. He's an engineer. He's a parent of a kindergarten here. We talked about it. This program, the construction started back in 2007. And the foundations were laid back then, but then housing crisis. So it's been in the works for 16 years now. It's not like something new and fantastic.
It's a new developer though, so the original developer that started, I believe was Pulte, and now Lennar is coming in to finish it off.
Where is it located?
Right behind Children of America off of 45.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
It will
Thank
be
you.
very similar to the ones that are there.
Do they also pay the high school?
Yes,
Same amount?
no, probably not. So, I believe they also pay the park district. It's just dependent on the formula that they use to determine the impact fee.
Coding bit.
Right. Seal coating bid, Tim Smith and I held a bid for seal coating the majority of the parking lots at both schools back in December. We have the low bidder, which was Patriot Pavement Maintenance, came in at just over $27,000. So Dr. Lind and I will be asking for approval on that bid at the next board meeting. And then I'll work with them to schedule that project over the summer.
And I checked, it's an asphalt based tar, not coal tar, or asphalt based, not coal tar based. Coal tar based is carcinogenic and kills our lake ecosystem, so. It's good news.
That was a good question.
Next one is mine too, asbestos abatement bid. In a couple weeks, we will be holding a bid for the abatement of the remaining asbestos in the elementary building. Yay,
And we're done?
then we're done. We're done. So that we should have the bids in before the next board meeting. And then hopefully we can get approval for that and get that project scheduled for the summer as well. That will be a little bit bigger of a project. I'm thinking between removing the flooring and putting the new flooring in, it will take a few weeks.
Questions about? Property tax relief grant. We have applied for the property tax relief grant again this year. That does not mean we'll get it. And it does not mean you have to take it. So if we do if we do get on the list, the state says, yes, you are approved for a certain amount, then the board can choose to move forward and take the grant. And if you do, then property taxes are abated this year on top of what we're already doing. We're in a second year of what we did what got approved for last year. And so we would, on top of that, abate again, to our property tax owners or property owners. And then, we would do that for 2 years. The state would reimburse us 80% of that, and almost 90% of that amount. To recover some of those costs, and then we would get that money moving forward. So it's a great deal for local school districts, great deal. And really helps lower local property taxes, what it's designed to do, it actually is doing. It's one of the laws that were written, it's actually pretty good from the state of Illinois, so this is one I really appreciate. But we are, as I mentioned earlier, down the list this year. Last year, I knew we were within the 50 million, the state allots $50 million a year for this grant. And you get the list comes out in the fall, and then you can see where you're at with the approvals. And last year, we were just at the edge of that, but well within the 50 million. This year, we're at about 60 million down the list. So I don't know if we're gonna get it, if everybody in front of us takes it. I want to get the money.
Why would anyone say no?
They don't, that's why we haven't gotten it before, but some people may not understand it. Some people don't miss the deadline, some districts, because we do lose a little bit of money in the first couple of years. If you don't have enough to float that difference, may not take it. Maybe, I still think it would be worth it, but that's a great question. I don't know why anybody would not take it.
Now, when, last year when you were talking about this, I attended some of the meetings, but it was my board time. Do I recall something about if you get it for like 3 years, then it becomes permanent, or no, is that?
2 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so if this is, we'll talk about this a little bit later too. So when we do our projections moving forward, for example, Milburn takes in about $4 million from the state per year total ed fund. Which is actually a lot for a district our size in Lake County, and that's because we don't have a lot of property tax value in our district. So we get we're reliant on state funding. But right now, we take in about just under $4 million a year. With this grant, we're going to get $4.6 million per year, last year and this year. It totals up to about 4.6 million. And that becomes, if you do that 2 years in a row, and then we give back more than 700,000, I think we gave back 900,000 to the taxpayers to get that money. So we lose a little bit for the first couple of years, but that money, then that 4.6 becomes our new base funding minimum. And that goes on forward into perpetuity.
And those 2 years have to be consecutive?
Yep.
Okay.
That's the trick. So we're losing, maybe almost $500,000 in these 2 years of revenue, but we're gonna more than make up for that in the next 10. Like, okay, we'll give up 500,000 to get 7 million. Sure. Seems like a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Of course, that's trusting that the state is gonna follow through on their end. Some people don't have the trust in that, but lately they've been pretty consistent, so. It's good. So we applied for it. I'll keep you posted. We should be notified, I think this week or next week. If we even have the choice. Okay, registration fees. So, and activity fees, we can lump all of this fees into one discussion. So we charge about $200 per student in registration fees each year. That covers curriculum materials, books, iPads. Anything that's that's consumable, that's used for education. It doesn't cover that, but it offsets it, so that's what we can use that money for. We can't just charge people exorbitant fees and not use them, so that's where that goes. Our curriculum, if you flip through to, let's see, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th page in the packet. I'm gonna be referring to some of these different pieces of information throughout the night, but, you can see that we collect total in our district about 187,000 a year in activity fees. We don't collect fees for students who are on free and reduced lunch. So we have approximately 1,100 students, minus 15% of those on free and reduced lunch. Times $200, you get 187,000. We collect 100% of the fees from our families, or 99.9 usually percent of the fees from our families eventually. So that's a pretty good chunk of money. So any variance to that, so if we are thinking about lowering fees or raising fees, that's gonna make a difference for our fund balances. If you look at activity fees, it's the same thing. We collect about 90,000 a year for activities. That's band, sports, clubs at both schools. For activity fees, the costs of those activities, not including band, just our general activities, is about 150,000. So that goes to offset that cost. Any changes we make in the activity fees, up or down, will impact our bottom line accordingly. So if you flip back to the front page, it's called the operating fund graph. Carly did a lot of work over the break on trying to project what the next 4 years is going to look like as far as fund balances and what will happen. So any decisions that we make, and the reason that I want to share this tonight and talk about this with the activity fee discussion, is any changes we make impacts our bottom line. Now, there's tons of variables in this, so I don't want anybody to get too happy or too upset either way, but just know that every time we put in a different number, the outcome is going to be different. So, for example, if we say, okay, we're not going to collect, or we want to cut our activity fees in half, or we want to double our activity fees, that's going to change this fund balance out in years, especially in years 2, 3, and 4, because it's a cumulative effect. So when we do these projections, I'm mostly concerned about next year and the year after. Past that, every change you make is exponential and widens the gap, so it can look either too good or too bad, either way. And it's okay if the board is okay in strategically spending down some of our reserves, because the good news is that we are in a strong financial position at this moment. Moving forward, Milburn is always going to be right on the edge as far as balancing budgets, and we don't have a lot of margin with our tax base. We have a very thin tax base and a very narrow tax base that's reliant on our parents and homeowners versus commercial property tax and a broad tax situation that other districts have. And that's just the way it is. So that we can't really change or don't have the power to. So just saying that, and trying to explain all the pieces that are going into this, everything that we talk about in the next 3 months, as far as staffing for next year, fees that we need to talk about soon because kindergarten registration is coming up and we have to look at fees, activity fees. We don't have to decide now, but we want to talk about that in all of this, all of the budget picture.
If we wanted to know, if I wanted to know.
Yes.
I hate registration fees and activity fees for public schools. I just say it out loud. I know everybody does it. I hate it. Do we know how many households and households? Probably doesn't tell the whole picture because some houses are worth more than others. The tax would be different. Do we have a total number of households or total number of home value, property value that we tax? I assume we have that. where we would know if we got rid of registration fees completely and put it on the taxpayers, it would be $20 per $100,000 your home is worth. Can we come up with a number like that?
Oh,
Just
yeah,
so-
that's pretty easy.
Um, because I would like to know that.
Mhm.
And if we are going to charge to do something like that, I think it would behoove us to do it in a year we're about to really lower taxes. You follow what I'm saying? I mean,
Yes.
so if we are gonna put some burden back into the community, I think this would be the year to do it, not when we're taking taxes up. I don't wanna pull a bait and switch, obviously. I
Mhm.
mean, we wanna be transparent, but I'm always gonna advocate for lower registration fees for sure, and activity fees, because we're a public school. And, I think as many kids that we can get in our activities, we should. I know Rachel's great with that kind of stuff, as far as means and that sort of stuff. But if we have the numbers, if it's like, okay, every household's gonna have to pay an extra $10 or $20, whatever it is, I would advocate for that in a second. If it's another $300, that doesn't make any sense, because we may as well just pay the fees, follow what I'm saying?
Yes,
So if we could get that number, I think it would. help
it's
our
gonna be about
discussion.
$125 for $300,000 house would be my guess off the top of my head, but we can definitely pinpoint that. So looking at both, so you're looking at, cause I know when we asked for about $1 million in our last referendum, that was about 300 and some dollars per year for a $300,000 house, which is the average, that's the average median home value in
So
our
this is
district.
a little over 250,000, so maybe a fourth of that, fourth to a third of that.
That, right,
$7,500.
$100.
I'm right there with you with the registration fees, like school's compulsory. Kids have to go there. Yeah, they have other options, but things like the activity fees, I do want to see kids involved. But when so many more of them are at the middle school level, that's because right now we're subsidizing the little, the activities.
Yeah.
The new programs, that's put on by a third party company for the middle school, like the Stage Stars and the STEM. Are we, is that the straight cost that we're charging parents, or are we abating that at all? I'm just looking at you, Ben, because you're absolutely.
So since it's a third party, they fill out facilities, so it's facility use, so that's the only money revenue that we get. is
Gotcha.
Through facility use, so any profit they make them is. Because they're a profit, we get 50% of their registration. So like the last fall, I think we calculated that they were gonna make 23,000.
Yeah, I'd love to see those fees go down, for registration. But, put a cap on maybe the activities instead of, because you want kids to be engaged in it too. Instead of just, I'm gonna do everything just because I can, sign up for it, and then maybe they don't go to all the practices and then they're taking a spot away from somebody else, sort of thing.
Well, this would be the time to try new things. And, when you get to high school, then you kind of know what you want, but I like that we allow our fifth graders to do some of the sports activities that our middle school does, kind of get them involved early, but I certainly wouldn't want to take any revenue away from the school for this stuff. I wouldn't want their bottom line to go down. We have to find, in my opinion, find a way to put this money.
Right, so that would be my next question then, where does that money come from? So if you want to push it back to the taxpayers, that means we would run a referendum for this at some point in the near future, operating fund effort.
That can't just be with our annual request for X% increase.
No, because if you look at this front page, there's assumptions that we put in for the years going out, and those assumptions are including what we have maxed, assuming that we max out what we can with taxes, because we're a tax cap district, we're maxed out at 5% or the CPI. And the average CPI before the last couple of years was 2% per year that we have can increase unless you go out for referendum. We also are negotiating with two of our unions this year, and so we put in assumptions. Assuming that we're going to settle with an increase in salary. Those are assumptions that are put in here too, so given our best anticipatory guesses, if that changes, that's gonna go up or down, so. And that's assuming also that basically our supplies are static, whatever we're spending this year. We're not changing, so it would have to come from somewhere. And most of it is salaries and benefits, 85% of what we spend is every year under operating funds, is salaries and benefits. That's gonna go up. So it has to come from the taxpayers or it has to come from programming, so if we don't. It has to come from somewhere.
Personally, I would want it to come from the taxpayers, because I think it's an easy sell to say your home taxes are gonna go up $50. We're getting rid of all registration and activity fees. And that's an easy sell, I think. To now, someone doesn't have kids, they go, oh, $50, but if I didn't have kids, if I made that argument to me, I'd still be like, yeah, that's pretty cool. We got a district where we don't charge those fees for those kids. Now, that's just one thing we ask them to pay for, obviously. But if it's $300, $400, it's a non-starter, you know what I mean? So we'd have to find out what that number is, and I would not want to take, obviously, any money away from our bottom line. Again,
And we wouldn't be able to run that referendum till April of 25.
That would be my recommendation. Which is coming soon, but I know it sounds like,
Here.
sounds like a long time out there, but that comes real fast.
Do you require a breakdown of how you guys use the registration fees? Like, is there a way we can see kind of where it all kind of goes? Like, if it's going more to like curriculum or if it's going more to like,
It goes into the general fund, so
just the
it
general
doesn't,
fund? Okay.
yeah, it goes right into the general fund, but you can say that it offsets. Because we spend more than that.
Mm,
Specific curriculum. So when I looked at our curriculum, we spend about $110,000 a year for our iPad lease.
Right,
So that's a supply.
okay.
And then $100,000, about $100 per student just on like books, and it's not books anymore, but it's apps and subscriptions and services like that. So our IXL and what else do we spend on?
So like for the new math
The
curriculum.
math
that we're
curriculum is gonna
hoping
have a
to-
subscription service, all of the library subscriptions to get books online or these books in here. I just took a real what I know and what we
Yeah.
just calculated, and that was 100,000, over 130,000, something like that.
What did the fees break down to per activity? Wasn't it like $150? You know?
So activity fees are $150 across the board for things like basketball, band, choir. No, not choir. Well, yeah, elementary,
Cross-country.
cross country,
Sure.
basically all the sports,
Mhm.
scholastic ball. And then there's clubs that are $50. So a club is a little bit different. It's not a competitive sport that we would go against another school. Or,
Yeah.
One place, so there's no transportation costs. It's much more effective and meets fewer times. That's a $50 fee or 8 to 10 sessions.
Mostly covers the staff's cost.
Mostly, yep. Some supplies and the staff stipend.
And the activity fee is optional though. Like if your kid's not in an activity or sport, you don't have to pay that.
Correct.
Okay, so then what we require of all of our families is that $200.
$200 is the registration fee.
Per kid.
Which per kid,
So,
yeah,
Yes, if you have 2 kids, it's 400 for the whole year
correct, which includes their
Yeah.
iPads and
and all the other stuff.
and all their subscriptions. Curriculum,
Off the top of your head, you know the percentage of households in our district that have kids?
yeah, it's less than a third, so there's 3,000 tax pins, so if you take away the handful of commercial tax pin numbers that we have. Which I don't know, let's say it's 50. Commercial pins, maybe-ish, maybe it's a little more than that, maybe it's 75, but give or take. So almost 3,000 households. And we have about between 800 and 900 families, somewhere in that range, because there's 1,100 kids, so some families have multiple children. So a little less than a third. 25%.
Then we have, that's not even including the new senior community that's put in, right?
Correct.
Which is-
So that's another 100.
The 55 plus, yeah.
The 55 Briargate plus,
Yeah.
plus we're gonna get now the Heritage Park townhomes. But that'll supply kids too. So that's the board's role. I'm trying to put as many pieces and together as possible without going too far into detail, because we can go down rabbit trails forever. But to get the big idea and to get the understanding that if you take away here or give here, it's gonna balance out somewhere else. And that can be fund balances for a while. They don't last forever. If we continue to deficit spend in the future, that at some point it has to turn around, and that's when it's programmed. And we've been there, we understand. We all understand, it's not too complicated. With what we anticipate for the next 2 years, we're gonna be okay.
How is this ending? Are we getting?
Well, I was just gonna say,
You can't vote tonight, so.
No, I'm saying, are we gonna ask to just see what it would be?
I
per
was gonna just
household?
ask, can I get that number?
Yeah, that's what I'm
Yes.
saying, just,
So let me write down, because I love getting that stuff,
right,
answering those questions.
yeah, cause I agree, I don't wanna take anything from any other
No,
fund,
I don't,
but if it comes out to like $20 a household, I think that's a great idea.
especially if you got 3 kids and you go, oh, here's $600 just to come to our public school, it's rotten.
Plus
But it
bathroom
is.
supplies.
Yeah, plus bathroom supplies.
I think you said if I didn't have kids, I'd be like, yeah, that's fine. As long as it's not, you know,
Depends on the number, right?
Well, right.
We're there for everything.
I just,
so why don't we just get the meetings?
my concern, and we've talked about, is this, do we have a low activity fee, like $50 for everything, just so they have skin in the game, so they're like, okay, yes, I'm actually going to not sign up for 10 activities and then go to one. So they put a little money in. So like, yes, I am coming to this.
But they would
Here's-
still have to like try out though, right? Just
We don't
because they
think-
wanna do it doesn't mean they get on it. Oh, there's no tryout?
Well, it depends on the sport, but if it's an activity, there's no tryout. One other thing I'd throw out there too is if a lot of people join an activity, like you're saying, if they're just going to sign up and maybe not necessarily show up. And now we've went through bus routing and figuring out how many buses we need and how many drivers we have bidded the routes out to. There will be additional costs. Yeah, just to consider on that side.
I wouldn't mind just a flat rate of $50, just so, hey, here's my $50. Yeah, this is my commitment to know that I'm going.
It just,
Yeah,
I hear what you're saying, I just don't know that we get a lot of that. Maybe, I guess.
But I would also make the case that a lot of kids in the Milburn community do outside sports and activities that the parents are already paying a huge fee for.
Yeah.
So asking them to now be required to pay another fee where their student may not participate in activity or sport, I just don't know if that's the right move.
Oh, I don't think he was talking about, oh, still, it's only participation fee. If you're not in it, you're not, but I don't know that we would have that, a ton of people going, yeah, I'll sign up just to do it.
Oh, so I think you would have more.
I think more, but I don't know that we get a ton that want to quit in the first week. Honestly, and if they quit in the first week. Kind of church, man.
I just think we should get the number and then go.
Yeah, I think that'd be a big part. of it. But
Just,
I mean, that's a
just as a
consideration. certainly to
Right.
just as a
talk about.
counterpoint to say, you know,
I got the questions a lot at the beginning of the year
Yeah.
from a lot of people, actually. Now, why am I paying $200 for my kid to go to school? And, and why are we 150 when August 50 for certain things? I haven't gotten a lot of those questions lately, once school starts, everybody's on everything else, but when they're writing the checks, they're calling anybody they know affiliated with the school. And what's going on. I guess maybe I'm one of them.
Growing up, we had registration fees, but it didn't cost, like, we didn't have to pay for any of our sports out, like Warren, I mean, now they do, but I don't know when that became a thing.
So it was a thing when I was in elementary school and high school and middle school, so like I've never not known a
Yeah.
registration.
When I was in elementary school, we had a registration fee, it was like
Oh.
$20 or something, but we had.
Here's where,
I
here's,
mean,
here's where it became a thing. So a little bit of historic.
Yeah.
It became a thing in the 2008 when the housing market crashed in
that
Melbourne.
makes more sense.
Was in bad financial position, so it became, okay, if we want sports, the board said, if we're going to have sports, we don't want to take money away from core academics, class size, etc., in order to pay for sports. People still want sports. Parents that want those sports can pay for it, and including band. Band fees went up to $300 to try and offset that cost as much as possible. It still didn't offset band, but because it's such a unique structure. So that's where we were at back then. It was either we're gonna cut them or pay, somebody's gotta pay, and then we passed a referendum. We froze, everything's been frozen since.
here's a question.
14 years without raising the fees at all. And I think we lowered registration fees a little bit, and we lowered the band fees back to $150 to be equivalent with all the other activities.
Here's a question based on your referendum idea. We always do referendums and we always say we never quite get enough and we have to come back in 10 years. How would that impact? I mean, because it's one thing to say, okay, we passed a referenda to wipe out all athletic fees and it's just for athletic fees. And then we have our budget issues, which we do every 10 years. And that gets eaten up and then we're gonna have to turn around. I mean, do we turn around and then charge them athletic fees in year 8, 9, and 10? And they're like, we passed a referendum, so we wouldn't do that. That's kind of. You see what I'm saying?
I do, but I think 100 years from now, my opinion on public schools being free will not change. I mean, I know they're not, but that's the whole idea behind a public school. It's like Fred was saying, you're forced to go. Maybe people are gonna start passing laws in certain liberal states, whatever, where money follows the child and everything changes. So who knows? I'm just talking about for now, to ask someone with 3 kids going to our schools, to pay $600 to go to school, and if they're each in 2 sports, another $900 to go to school, it's $1,500 to go to school and play 2 sports. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And maybe a small activity fee just because you are participating in something outside. For me, the registration fees is different than the activity fees for me.
Right.
I agree.
The activity fees is, you don't have to do it, but the reason I want to lower activity fees is to get more kids involved instead of sitting in front of the computer at home after school. Which my kid does activities and still does that.
Yeah.
There was one thing I read about, and not all the paperwork and books I got. If the majority of school boards that have the majority of the students in the county vote for a sales tax increase in increments of 0.25% up to 1%. The county will levy it and disperse that countywide proportionately to the number of students everyone has, but it can only be used for like infrastructure. Improvements. So if we want to get new doors or lights or whatever that, and so that can be once, but we'd have to get 50% of the other school districts interested in something. But if everybody's having budget issues because things are going up, a 0.25% sales tax is a quarter on $100 tab, so. Yeah, that's something we can mull it around if you haven't heard about that before, but it's something we can put in our toolkit.
I just think now is the time to do it if we're gonna do something like that, because people are gonna feel unease next year with their big bond payment.
Yeah.
I definitely think we should get the number and see what it is and then revisit it.
Yeah. Yep, and we don't have to decide today,
Right.
especially
We
the
can't
activity.
do anything.
We have till May.
Yeah.
For that, well, preferably, or but don't have to. Registration fees, we need to decide sooner, but that's could be February. We've waited that long before, so. Just some things to think about, and it's philosophical discussion. Sweet. Referral GPS. Okay, Mr. Rollins.
Hi, everybody. How you guys doing?
Howdy.
I just want to take a couple minutes of your time to talk about a new resource that we just learned about recently called Referral GPS. So our district is committed to creating a culture of well-being for students, staff, parents, and community. So in an effort to continuously support this commitments, we've entered into an agreement with Referral GPS. So I'll tell you what that is. All right, so all districts in Lake County provided this at no charge for 3 years. Program under the leadership of Dr. Carnett. It is a web-based service focused on assisting our students, staff, and community in finding local mental health and substance use-related treatment. Along with a searchable database of treatment options, it also has a care navigation system to assist families in triage, appointment setting, and follow-up care. So it takes into account all types of private and public insurance. The platform also filters by age, gender, zip code, and special requests. Complements our district's existing a tool for student service teams, families, and method treatment. So we use this as a resource in multiple settings on multiple teams throughout our district. And all information entered is confidential and securely stored. So school families may access Referral GPS in a couple of ways. You contact our student services team, our social workers, psychologists, administrators, and we can certainly help anyone navigate this resource. And we have put this link out to the community. So you can visit this link anytime. Manage it and manipulate it individually. So this was shared via the principal weekly newsletters. And I also shared it out with our school community, our districts, through the special services law. That's how we've communicated it so far. We just recently learned about this, so we're learning more as we go. Jason, if you want to click on that link, I can take you through a quick example. So this link is a Milburn specific link, so all the data collected, does get shared with us on how many people are using our platform and how many people are accessing services. This website, so it's nice to see. Thank you, so we get a monthly update, knowing how many users are.
Yeah, actually we do. From the ROE, it doesn't have any names, it just says how many people access the site
Does it say like through Milburn or Lake County?
through Milburn. Each school district, Dr. Connor sends out each school district's profile to our school district, so I don't know how much
Oh,
like Villa's access or Waukegan or anybody else, but I know what. He sends what our local access point is. And it was used last
Yeah,
month.
yeah, not at all. First month or so.
Yeah.
So when you first access the website, you get this screen, so you can get a navigation care specialist. That's it. Care navigator, so you can click on that and somebody will assist you through the process. They have a pretty strong team that's pretty responsive, so, or you can do it yourself, so we'll click on do it yourself, just take you guys through the quick. You go to all of the prompts. So let's say that you have a student experiencing anxiety at home, for example, a child. Or you can put multiple boxes. Let's just go with anxiety for right now. Next is 3 options. It's still a talk therapy. 12 to 17, whatever. It doesn't matter. And would you consider it online? Sure. How about that? Insurance, and if you click on that pull down screen, there's lots of insurance options there.
it may be because you selected a unique, medical. Yeah.
I mean, students could use it as opposed to they want to.
Which one's
Staff.
More for staff.
That's, this is, like, you're not gonna get any further going on, so.
I mean, it's.
You could,
A student could, yeah.
yeah, but,
The link is shared with parents.
It's on our
Does the
website.
parent get a notification if the kid goes on this and starts looking for stuff?
I don't know, I haven't tried to go on as a student to see what the application would be, but. I assume that the student reaches out, because you're gonna see in a moment that list of. I'm not sure what's going on there.
so a couple months ago, I attended a thing at the library where Dr. Carno was talking about this. And it's open for staff, it's open for parents, it's open for students. And even if you don't have insurance or you've used your insurances for therapy visits for the year, you can get treatment through here at no cost. They'll try and work with your insurance, finding providers you're accustomed with and, but that's one of the great things if you don't have insurance so if a kid wants an anonymity, and you know what I'm saying? Yeah. But I'm assuming there'll still be the healthcare confidentiality unless you're gonna harm yourself or someone else, they're not gonna tell your parents.
I always worry about data. Okay, so someone accesses this and now all of a sudden on a list somewhere that
Right.
shows up 5 years later,
Yeah.
great. It would have to be. Very
I would assume
secure.
there's some sort of check and balance once the student gets so far in the process, right? And possibly reaches out to a therapist, I'm sure there's questions there.
Yeah, like a 10-year-old could just get on this and then start talk therapy with somebody. who
No,
follows, no,
no,
right?
no,
Okay.
This is just,
This just gives you a list supposedly.
I just did this like 15 minutes before the board meeting, just to test it out. I did kind of the same process there. And
My
I
kids have a
and
food session.
was given a notice that 30 therapists within a 10-mile radius.
Yeah.
And it gives their profile. You can click on them, it gives their email address and their phone number, so it just gives options of therapists to reach out to.
Yeah.
That care navigation team will help contact those people for you if you choose to go that route.
Mhm.
Otherwise, you can reach out and
But
contact.
there's like a crisis hotline.
There is-
So the target,
doesn't-
who's the target
Right.
group here then? Is it staff?
It's families.
It's
And
Families,
families
it's
and
families.
community members.
It's all of the above, it's our community.
I did, first thing I saw when one of your slides was age 0 to 5, and I was, wait a minute, that's the first thing that. But you would then be talking about maybe your child and be a parent.
Yeah.
You're as,
Yes,
you're as a
yes,
parent.
yeah.
Feels like Lisa said, I don't want my 10-year-old going and not talking to somebody, I don't even know who they're talking to.
Yeah, it's talking about the age of the person.
I got you. Okay.
So anyway, Jason, let's pretend that he got through here, because it's happened for me 100% of the time. I'm not sure why it hasn't happened. But I got about 30 options of local, resources and therapists that I could contact and reach out to try to schedule.
So then what would the 10-year-old do? What would be the next step for the 10-year-old that went looking for a therapist online? I mean, do they call them up, or do they say, hey, mom, dad, I found a list of therapists. I need to go talk to someone, or?
So this only provides a list. This is it, right? Only a list is provided. I can't click on them and start a conversation or anything like that.
You are not
Just a
in
list.
therapy through this.
Okay,
program.
all right.
This is just providing a list of providers to reach out.
So like
Yeah,
your
like a
insurance company, you
directory.
put in your stuff and I'll give you a list. That's it.
Those
So
options,
it's a
like talk
resource,
therapy,
yeah.
that was just an
Okay.
option of what you would like the therapist to provide. So, yeah, it's just giving you a list of resources.
Okay. Okay.
So then if the student had an issue, it would take it to the parents, and the parents would take them to the,
So if there's a
Someone on the
list,
list.
let's say a 10-year-old, that's a good question. I hadn't thought of it. So let's say a 10-year-old gets in here and gets that far. They're just getting as far as a list of therapists.
Right.
providers.
That's- yeah.
I guess if the 10-year-old calls one of the therapists, that's where we. that's
Follow
what we're talking about.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So it's not like when I go on looking for a cruise line, all of a sudden 10 minutes later, I got 20 people calling.
So you are not getting talk therapy, right? Just a really quick, easy way to work with families and staff in the moment to find resources for them.
Yeah, that's a great tool.
Yeah. It's pretty awesome. That's that.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. I like the price too. Yeah, it's got the, we got a graph. for the sticker. That's-
Well, again, I'm having technical difficulties,
You're out of practice.
I guess. Oh, it's not gonna go. Okay, we can just move on with the agenda in front of you.
Okay. Hearing to waive the state holidays of Lincoln's birthday, Veterans Day, and Casimir Pulaski. Future agenda.
Right. So every year, once we approve the calendar, then we have to go in and waive the state holidays that are still in the school code and go through that process.
So we
Make
already,
our calendar
he's
work.
already off our calendar, right? No, it's just a format.
For this year, this is for next year.
Every year we have to.
Every year,
Gotcha.
every year we have to do that.
We don't do take these holidays. No.
The what?
We don't take these holidays, no.
No,
Right, semi-annual review of closed session minutes and destruction of audio tapes more than 18 months old.
so every 9 month, no, every 6 months, you get a packet, which I think this
We
we did
did
in
once,
July, yeah. So now we have to do it again because it's 6 months are up where we go through and we determine if closed session minutes should be open to the public or not, and then we just, anything that's more than 18 months old, we destroy those tapes upon approval.
So that would be for voting in the February meeting, not voting next meeting? Okay. Cause yeah, if we don't.
You
the
have,
packets to
no, we'll get you the packets and then,
Fun reading through this.
yeah,
Yeah, we have stuff like 10 years old.
yeah.
We don't have
Some of it
more.
will be there in perpetuity because
Okay.
So,
can't reveal people's names.
Budget projection.
So again, we'll continue to do budget projections, as we go through and discuss things and get things solid for next year and the year after, and we also are keeping up to date with this year's budget, so, are we on track with our spending this year from what we expected? You take, Carly can run a report and it spits out every line and the percentage of the school year that's passed and the percentage of the budget spent. Now that's, can't do that for every line. It doesn't mean as much unless you understand what's going into that, because let's say we bought, we had an order of copy paper and we got a whole year's supply in September. Well, that we're only halfway through the year and it's 100% of that budget spent. That doesn't mean we're gonna be over, or vice versa. We haven't spent, we're still using up last year's copy paper. And so the budget may look like we have 100% left, but we know that we're gonna spend all that money in the future on copy paper, so. But in general, we're tracking right along where we should be, so it's good.
Calendar approval.
And we'll approve a calendar finally, after much discussion. Jake.
All right, superintendent report.
Strategic planning is going well. It's fun doing the focus groups. Couple people have participated. And we have 2 left only for this phase. We do more along the way once we get down the road a little bit further, and now we compile all the information that we have from where we're at now and then start to synthesize that and look at, okay, how do we want to translate that into future agenda items? So,
You have one tomorrow, right?
yeah, I do.
If we get a lot of snow,
We might not have one
yeah.
tomorrow,
I wanna change that.
right?
I can sled if it's at the middle school.
Yeah. It is at the middle school, 7 to 9. So we should be fine. Be all good. There's 3 people signed up for tomorrow. Yes, it's tomorrow, and then the next one is Wednesday, the 17th from 4 to 6. Here, right, so if you can make that, great, if you don't, that's okay too. Also doing one with some of the staff on Wednesday's early dismissal with some of the teachers that are not doing another activity of vertical integrate or vertical articulation. So some teachers will be doing that. So at this building, I'm taking care of the rest of the staff and doing some of that work, same process. Get their ideas, and I'll continue to do that until we get to as many people as we can or that want to participate in that.
Superintendent report, good to go.
Good to go.
All right, business office report. Fire it up, Carl.
Just 2 quick things, supply chain assistance funding. So this is something that is provided through the US Department of Agriculture. I applied for the 3rd round of this funding, which should give the district just over $34,000 this school year. And essentially it's to assist with school districts experiencing supply chain disruptions. Something coming out of COVID. I think it's just some leftover money, and this is round 3. Our first 2 rounds, we received just over 24,000 and $38,000 respectively. And also just a fun little thing to share, last week, the director of buildings and grounds from McHenry District 156 came by with his district's architect, and they wanted to see the new flooring and they loved it, and just wanted to share that with you. A thank you to the board for allowing us to keep putting in that flooring, and other school districts thought it looked really, really nice.
Board reports. It's been a while, folks. What have we been up to?
Holidays.
Christmas.
Christmas. Well, I went to one of your sessions,
Yeah, the one right before.
one right before break, and I went to the choir concert. Interesting. So, I saw you there.
Yeah, yes, I am. And I was thinking about the choir concert when we were talking about activity fees. For something like that, don't really want to like charge $1 for tickets for parents. But I don't know, have like maybe a suggested donation for the football games, or well, we don't do football. Do we? No. Okay, for, this helps offset the activity fees or whatever, just have, a bucket that's $1 or $2, suggested. So, it's an idea for that. I saw, were you done, John?
Yeah, no, I'm done, yeah.
There was Epic did a fundraiser at launch, so this John over there. And launch put out in their regular so launch, Epic was sending out their emails, and then I'm on launch's mailing list because I am. And they sent out one specifically saying Epic fundraiser, our first fundraiser of the year, so that got a lot of people there. So I think Epic did pretty well from it. Nice to talk to some other parents outside of the school setting. I was thinking about what Peter and John talked about, getting involved with other local organizations, the municipalities and whatnot. And a lot of everybody's meetings, like the library, Lindenhurst Village, the fire department, they're all like the first and third Monday. So I don't know if like we talk with someone and say, hey, if we want to get more people involved in things, maybe we can stagger them, everybody's meetings, calendars are set
Yeah.
in advance. So I don't know if that's just something to
No, that's
reach
good.
out and chat about.
We should definitely not meet on the night of the national championship of college football. Ever again.
Not tonight? Oh, sorry, I have no idea.
Michigan scored right when I left.
Oh, no.
I'm like, is that a thing? I have no, I'm like, honestly,
Oh, it's a thing.
sorry. I'm all hockey, so maybe that's why I'm like.
All right. Does anyone else have board reports? All right. We do have closed session tonight. I know. Yeah, dun. So I'm gonna need a motion to go to closed session.
So moved.
Oh, for the purpose of
What are we doing?
collective negotiation.
Okay, we have to go to closed session for collective negotiating matters between the public body and its employees or their representatives, or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees.
So moved.
So moved. I need a second.
Second.
Second, Madam Secretary, can you call the roll?
John Renson.
Yes.
Peter Petrini.
Yes.
Jillian Phelps.
Yes.
John Ruggles.
Yes.
Brad Skepstrom.
Yes.
And Lisa Booster.
Yes.
All right, we're headed to closed session. We will stop the production of the video.
See you
guys.
Thank you.